I wonder if there's anybody here now. You've been listening, many of you have been listening for some time. Do you doubt what I say about the nature of the market? Do you think I'm saying that to hear myself talk, or do you think the market really does have a nature, and that nature is actually independent of the people trading it? We've all gone over this so many times. I just wonder if any of you understand or even accept the premise to any degree at all, because you hear me rail on that all the time, that the market has a nature and so on. I wonder how many of you actually believe, or maybe a better word is to accept that idea and to explore it and to see if you can go somewhere with it. Because I'm not telling you that to throw you off track. I mean, there would be no point in doing that. That is really the understanding that I have, is that the market has its own nature. It is energized by buyers and sellers, energized but not dictated by buyers and sellers, and that the net result of all that buying and selling is mere energy to the market. The market then uses that energy to vibrate, move back and forth under its own nature. You might say, well, what if a bunch of people come in to buy or sell, as if those people are the ones dictating what the market does? I would tell you that it's much, much closer to the truth to say that everyone is responding to what the market does primarily, rather than creating what the market does. The response is actually what's happening. People get in and get out in response to the market, as opposed to creating the move that makes that response. Does that make sense? I think that's much closer to the truth. So even the big boys that people like to talk about, that they say that are moving the market, they're waiting and they're reacting to the market. They don't just get up every day and say, well, let's just throw $1 billion at the S&P and make it go down, because it actually doesn't work that way. So any authentically successful investor in markets will tell you that he didn't make the market move. He happened to be right about the market, about the move that it actually made. He didn't make that happen. He and his friends, whoever they are, didn't make it happen. And that's an understanding that you get to because there's no other answer when you start to see the things that you see a little higher up, if you will, on Trader's Mountain. You don't have to be that high to see these things. You have to be, but you have to be out of base camp, of course, but I just wonder sometimes if you do accept what I've said about the market requiring energy to exist, and it uses that energy to express its nature. Just like a toy, when you put a battery in it. Here I've got 5 batteries and I've got 5 toys. If I put battery A in toy A, it uses that energy to march like a soldier. Battery B, I put into toy B, and it uses that energy to roll around like a ball. Battery C, I put in toy C, and it uses that energy to jump up and down. The energy is the same in every case, but the toy expresses its nature with that energy. That's an analogy, but it's a pretty good one for how the market actually works. Remember, and I've said this recently, don't settle for stupid, basic observations that you or others have made. They may be valid or they may not be valid, but by settling for them, you'll never have a chance of discovering if there's something a little deeper. I mean, reality is weird. It's paradoxical. The very table that I'm sitting at right now, that table that I'm knocking on, this is a piece of wood. This table is made up of atoms. And until we knew about atoms, we just think, well, that's a piece of wood. And, that's all there is to know. There you are. That's wood right there. What do you got there? That's wood. Thank you. That's all you need to know. But it turns out a little more deep than that, doesn't it? It turns out that the table is called wood, but it's only called wood because it's made up of trillions of atoms that have a nucleus and orbiting bodies inside of it that are at specific distances from the nucleus and other specific characteristics that make it an atom of wood. And those atoms are very tightly packed together, so tight that when you hit it, it makes that sound. And you can't put your hand through it. I mean, that's a whole different order of reality than just going, well, that's just wood. It's actually a whole lot more than just wood, and it's a whole lot deeper than just saying it's wood. So I hope that you will come to a point in your studies where you will at least play with ideas that take you further than basic observations. Basic observations are good and necessary, but they're not the whole story. Basic observations are the ABCs. And some of them may be useful, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a deeper level and a better understanding that you and I can achieve through often not even being in front of the markets, but just playing with ideas about how markets might operate, and then exploring a little bit from time to time and get familiar with going down unusual pathways, get familiar with getting off the main pathway and going into the woods a little bit, and just do that from time to time so you have some familiarity with doing that. And you just might surprise yourself. Now, you don't have to take the woods all the way to wherever it leads to the top of Traders Mountain, which nobody knows what that is or where that is. You could simply learn certain principles and begin using those. I am enthusiastically offering our principles, and we do have a new Square Principle seminar date that's coming up in March of next year, and it's going to be early March. And those of you that may want to have to get some new information and start putting it to work could certainly consider coming to that seminar, where I'll be teaching it over at the Mirage Hotel. I think the date, let me get my, if you want to mark this down, because it's not on our site yet, but I do want you to have it now. I think it's actually the weekend of March 5th and 6th here in Las Vegas at the Mirage Hotel. Now, we were not able to, the Mirage is very difficult to get dates from. We were not able to get a date further out like we would have preferred, April or May, so that we have time to get people to know and for them to investigate and see that they might want to learn it and so on. But we don't have that time because we can't get those dates. The Mirage and the way that they deal the dates out, we almost didn't get this date. I mean, we were really just almost without a date. But I will say this, that means that you will have less time to make a decision if you'd like to check out and learn something new without having to take the trip into the forest, although you will be kind of forced to take a little bit of a trip into the forest, because when I show it to you, you're going to want to go explore how that idea works and what you could do with it.